Alright, hi guys. Today we're going to look at how to plant a tree. Okay, we're going to go through the site selection, how to buy the tree or choose a tree, how to dig the hole. We're going to look at how to amend the soil and what to put in the hole, and also how to plant it, so how to do the irrigation and mulch and the initial pruning. So there's quite a lot to planting a tree. Okay, so this tree is to offset carbon for Annika from Austria. So thank you, Annika, and I hope you enjoy the video. My name is Lawrence and I'm here at Killer Permaculture Farm, and today we're planting a lot of trees. So I'm showing how to plant this tree to our interns, and for the rest of the morning we're going to be planting trees in our agroforest. So please do enjoy the video and remember to subscribe. So first, where are we going to put the tree? So you see in monoculture plantations they have loads of the same trees in the whole field all over the place. But everywhere is drier, wetter, windier, sunnier, got more shade. So every tree prefers somewhere. So we want to make sure we pair the right tree with the right soils and the right climate. So throughout our land we have lots of different trees all in the right place. So we're not working against nature, we're working with it, okay? And then what we're going to do is choose a tree. When you've chosen what trees you want, you need to go and buy the trees. So when you're buying a tree, you need some experience already, because we want the tree to grow in the shape we want. And what happens is, if we have already got the shape we want in the tree we buy, we then will be 1 year closer to having the tree in the shape we want. When you learn pruning, you'll understand. This has branches. Sometimes it could be a stick with just a few buds. Okay, so when you just see the buds, you'll know the shape of the tree that you want. It's a pear tree that we're going to plant today, and this area is quite wet, and most fruit trees don't like wet areas, but pear trees and quince trees can handle it. And this tree is in the shape I want, more or less. Okay, and one of the main things I want is it to be already quite tall, and that's because sheep will be here, and that will save us putting fencing around it, save us some money. The other thing to note is that this is a bare-rooted tree. It is not a potted tree. Okay, bare-rooted trees are much better to plant than trees that are in pots. Trees that are in pots are useful out of season to plant, or perhaps trees where there are less commercial, say, they won't have bare-rooted. Bare-rooted trees are trees that have been transplanted, and the roots are in the shape, their natural shape, and not root-bound in a pot. So they will always be better to plant. Okay, so if you can, always buy bare-rooted trees and plant at the right time. So trees are always planted during the winter season. Right. Yeah. Best time to plant the trees is in November, beginning of the season, so you have the winter for the roots to grow when it's wet. However, if there is a tree that is a little bit sensitive to the frost, then it tends to be better to plant it at the end of the winter. Okay. Okay, so the next thing is about digging the hole. This hole was dug with a digger. You see, it's massive. Okay, ideally you get a digger to do it, but this is quite good because it's big. Like when you plant in pots, yeah, when you're planting in pots, the bigger the pot, the bigger the plant grows. I grow trees and sell them. So I'm lazy. I transplant trees into small pots, and then I use less soil. I also have a few in big pots. The ones in bigger pots grow bigger. So treat this as a pot. You've got a big hole. It's going to grow bigger because you're going to put a load of good amendment in it. First of all, the bigger the hole the better, especially when there's rubbish soil and compact soil. The next thing is you don't want to have nice smooth straight sides, because it will act like a pot and the roots could go root bound. So after you've dug it, you want lots of cuts around the side, places for the roots not to go round but to extend out. Irrigation, water is life. Okay, without water the tree doesn't grow. We need to have the right amount of water, and for that you need to know about soil and water science. It's a lot of work to understand it well, but ultimately the tree needs a lot of water, and after you dug your hole, ideally you fill it with water to the top. In a dry climate like Portugal, ideally you fill it with water to the top. Then you plant the tree the next day. It'll take that long for the water to soak in. Okay? In a wet climate, it's not so important, but that way you store water in the ground. So once it's soaked in, we also need to have water ready for planting. We like to get our irrigation lines in first, because if we planting 50 trees in one day, it's a lot of carrying buckets, and we've been doing that over the years. So what we want to do now is to get the irrigation in place first. Just turn on the tap, drink a glass of wine, and the trees irrigate themselves. Okay? This irrigation line is done, but we haven't got the hole in for the nozzle here, so we need to do that. I will do that today. So with irrigation, you also need to know what your water source is. Has it got chlorine? Has it got bad nutrients, good nutrients? All this sort of stuff. Yeah. When you're thinking about amending the soil, we need to know what nutrients are in the soil and what nutrients are in the water, and see what's missing, what we've got too much of. Right. We need to know the pH of the soil. Do we need to adjust? Do we know the cation exchange capacity of the soil? Can it absorb nutrients? Do we need to help that? What nutrients is it missing? What is the texture of the soil? Does that suit the tree? Do we have to amend it? There are so many things we need to study in order to understand how to amend the soil. But the answer to all of them is always add organic matter. So you don't have to study it, just add loads of organic matter, okay? So what we need to next talk about is how to plant the tree. So there are a few things. First of all, the angle. I like to plant the tree, so if it's going to lean in any direction by accident, it's going to lean in the direction of the wind. Yeah, so it blows into the right place. Yeah, the wind comes this way always, here, and it blows like that. Okay? The other is the depth. Something we'll talk about when we do propagation, or on one of my propagation videos, is we don't eat mostly fruit. That's natural. We eat cloned fruit, right? All the fruit we buy in the supermarket is from cloned trees, and the way they generally clone fruit trees are with graft. So this here, this scarring here is the graft. Okay, that's where the clone has gone on. So that graft must always be above soil level. Okay, generally these types of trees, fruit trees, we don't plant so deep. So when I say deep, there's the place where the roots start. So that could be level with the ground outside. If that level is deeper, so the soil level is higher than that, I call that deeper, planting deeper. If the soil level is up here, it's planting shallower. So when there's a graft, it's normally shallow, and you can plant it a bit deeper, but not so the graft is in the ground. As a rule of thumb, I don't plant the fruit trees deep at all, and especially some trees that can rot quite well, like citrus, you don't want to plant deep at all. If there is no graft, if it's more of a natural tree, you can plant it a bit deeper, and if you know that the tree can easily root by cuttings, you plant it very deep. So you get loads of roots coming here, and it's held in a strong place, because then you get these roots deeper down to the water. Okay? So I need someone to come and help me, please. Thank you. Okay, so now you're going to see what a bare-rooted tree is. Yeah? Bare roots. There's no soil, because soil doesn't hold on roots. That's a misconception, misunderstanding. That's only in a pot. In real life, that doesn't happen. So you can hold that for me. So now I can get two more people to help me. Cool. We're going to fill this like I would a potting mix. So what we're going to do is have soil go into here. This is the soil from here, and we're going to amend that more or less 50% with other ingredients. So the ingredients I always use is composted sheep manure. This one I don't want near the roots. Then I have a very good quality compost from our chicken compost system, which is a mix of all the nutrients and stuff. It's got biochar in, it's got life in, and loads of good shit. If we were in a very dry spot where we're not, we could chuck in something like a prickly pear leaf, and that helps retain moisture. We're not going to do that today. Then I have mycorrhizal fungi. This is basically helping to put the right mycorrhizal life in the soil. We'll talk about that later, but that's something you should do. And then in this bucket we have worm castings, which is full of life, microbial life, and nutrients. Okay, so we're basically putting loads of good stuff in the soil. So more or less 50-50, the soil we have here and all the good stuff that we have. So you can keep adding this. Every now and then we need to stamp it down so it's compact, and then I'll add all the good stuff.
Do I hold the tree here while they're doing it?
Until they get to this level, you don't need to.
Okay. So the only reason you dug deep was to get the water thing, so it's not really for...
Yeah, and also if the soil is very compact, this will help loosen it up.
Yeah.
One thing we don't want to do is leave this on. This becomes like a flag and the wind hits it and moves it around. But one thing we don't want to do is take it off until we've recorded exactly what it is. It says pear tree, but the pear tree, this is not a pear tree, this is a clone of a specific type of pear tree, and here it says conference. Yeah, so I want to know that this is the conference. Okay, so what we're going to do is say conference pear tree on the video, and that's as good as writing it down. Okay, so thank you, Annika, for the tree. I'll take this off. Now we keep filling it up. Okay. Okay, and then the mycorrhizal fungi, just one sec, which actually goes on the roots. Okay. Okay. This is one scoop. One scoop goes on the roots. Okay. Okay. Now we're going to compress. Now when you compress, you don't compress where the roots are. Okay, just around. Okay.
Is it impossible to plant a tree by yourself then?
No, it's not.
Okay.
I planted it up by myself. It's
Okay. Just more fun with more people, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, and what I want to do normally is compress around. Sometimes it's now nice to flood it again. So we start off with a good watering. We're not going to do that because I turn the irrigation on and I want to show you the rest. But we need to flood this, okay? What I'm going to do now is put a little bit more of this sort of like good stuff on top. Okay? Should be holding by itself. And then we need to think about how we're going to water this in the future. Right now, if you put 4 buckets of water here, it will sit in this hole, right? If we make this level with everywhere else, when you put the water in, it might run downhill, especially if you're planting on a hill. Okay, so what you want to do is make this ground around it level, and maybe have a mound around it, and that way you can control the water going in. So we need to fill this up so it's level with the outside, and put the rest in a mound around. Like we'll do it and then we'll see. Okay, so now you can see it's coming up to the graft. Okay, perfect. You don't want to get any higher than that. We've got this nice mound around. So right now we've got kind of a big pot with amended soil. We want these trees to grow out here, so we've got to think about amending the soil here too. When I get people to come and bring fertiliser, compost and worm castings in the future, they put it here. They don't need to put it there, we need to put it here. Everything further out, okay? But now what I like to do is get a wheelbarrow of aged sheep manure, and we're not going to do it on this one because we haven't got it handy, but on the ones we're going to do up there, a wheelbarrow of aged sheep manure goes on the mound and inside and outside the mound. Yeah? We've got this little bit left. I mean, it's not quite enough, but it will do.
So then you're forcing the roots to go outwards, is that the thing? Because it's getting...
Well, when it does go out,
yeah,
it has the right nutrients and it has an ideal soil there.
Okay.
So, then we need mulch. One of the things we need to do is increase the organic matter here. So that's what mulch does. So mulch is organic matter you put around it. You see some people put plastic, some put cardboard. I like to put whatever I have at the time. I always have different things available, whether it's hay, whether it's straw, wood chips, pine bark, grass, manure, compost, it can be anything. You know, we have this broom. We could go and cut loads of broom and put it around. we've got this stuff, pine bark. It's not the best stuff, it's pretty much the worst stuff to use. It's quite high, it's quite acidic. But it's very cheap, so it's something we can get a lot of at once. So the pine bark predominantly is not so much about amending the soil for me here. This is about protecting the soil from the sun that dries it out. It's about protecting the soil from the wind and perhaps preventing some weeds. Okay, so we spread this around, but we try to keep it off the stem. And now we don't want any soil to go on top of that. So, getting there. So the next thing is we need this to have water. We're going to put the drip on and leave it on all day. Okay. The next thing is to spend a moment with the tree and think about the shape you want. You should already know. Naturally, a pear tree, there's lots of different shapes, but a pear tree would naturally have a central leader. And unfortunately, in the shops in Portugal, they cut them, so it doesn't have a central leader, but we'll let that grow back next year. But what we do have are these, we want 4 branches going out, 4 scaffolds on where the apples will go. So that's pretty much it. The only other thing we can add is a little bit of the liquid from the worms, the fertilizer that has been made into a compost tea to add more life. But we'll do that in bulk and add it to all the trees. And the last thing to do before you move on is, rather than just rushing through everything, just spend 1 minute just in silence, looking at the tree, observing how you think it's going to grow, and just spending a moment with it. Okay, so we can just do that now, okay? So one of the things you might have observed is that it's moving, and if you look at the base, you can actually see movement at the base. Okay, at the top you can understand there's always going to be more movement than the base, but that is putting pressure. Those roots are moving, those roots we want them to grow. So some people like to stake a tree. So we could have put one of these fence posts right next to the tree and tied it to it, and just so it doesn't move like that. What we would have done is we would have 4 fence posts for the fence to go around and string from each, and that will help hold it in place. All the trees we're going to plant, remember to put the fence posts first, guys. And I'm going to teach you how to put those fence posts in. Okay, you don't just chuck it in. That's one observation, okay? And the other one is that there's a little bit of dead. You don't want any dead bits. How would you like a dead arm hanging off you? The other thing to note is, if this was a cherry tree, that's what you guys would be planting, we also take off the central leader, because cherry trees don't have a central leader, they're open vase shape. Okay. Hi, I'm Lawrence from Kilo Permaculture Farm, and I'm here with Santa's little helper planting trees in our Christmas costume. If you want to buy a tree for a friend, we'll plant it and make a live video of it and a Christmas message to your friend or loved one. A fantastic Christmas present. You can also use it for a birthday present or any time of present you like. So Merry Christmas and get planting some trees.